How's it going, everybody? I released my first Garry's Mod video almost... Wait, how long has it been? Oh, well... okay. Yeah, time sure does fly. In the first video I ever made, I decided to find 4 very popular and well-liked maps, and did a deep dive into the lore behind the maps, the history of the authors, along with other factors that makes these maps so well known. When I started that video, I attempted to approach the topic with a non-biased view, but this was a little bit difficult because I already had some pretty strong personal opinions about this sort of thing, and I already felt like maps in video games or video games themselves can't be haunted. But that doesn't deny the fact that this game can make you feel a certain way unlike any other game, and Downtown RP is a perfect example of this. Yes, I know I bring this up every video, but there's a reason to it. When I did my investigation a year ago on this place, it was the first time I've ever played on it, and before joining I was actually skeptical about the map, but it only took about 10 minutes of exploring to change my mind and change the mood of that whole night. It started off as normal, but quickly changed as if I was playing a horror game alone at 2 AM. I don't really remember feeling that creeped out on a Garry's Mod map before. It just felt like something was watching me or following me, and that's really the best way I can describe it. Downtown RP is one of the only maps that I'll never play on again if I'm alone. I can't even begin to understand how or why that map is the way it is. What I do know is after getting tons of positive feedback on the first video, I decided to scour the internet and Steam's workshop to find some maps to make another investigation video. Which, by the way, this script right now that I'm reading was written around a year ago and is only now seeing the light of day, so this idea has been sitting in my notepad for quite some time. I went onto YouTube and typed Haunted Garry's Mod maps. I thought I'd hit a brick wall shortly after starting the investigation. That wasn't until I saw a low subscribed channel post a video about Downtown RP exploration.
So much for Dr. Freeman.
Even though it was a little bit off topic at the time, I got a little curious and watched the video anyways. I scrolled to the comments, and the one and only commenter was someone asking the creator of this video if he could take a look into the new GM Construct Beta 13 map, since there were strange reports coming from the players that visited there. So, I decided to look up GM Construct Beta 13 on YouTube, and quite a few videos popped up. Quick side note, I'm just going to call this map Beta 13 just to make it a little bit easier. My feed was filled with these videos on others exploring the map and claiming that it's haunted, but only getting as far as I did, or maybe even a step or two closer into the right direction. The creator of this map didn't bother to mention any of the creepy stuff in the map's description, which honestly makes it all the more better. I clicked the discussion tab on Steam Workshop saying Personal Exploration Notes, and I got curious and decided to check it out. I opened it up, and after a few minutes of reading, I discovered that this was a possible ARG, and I thought, is it time to investigate? Nice. Before I send you on your way, if you have any suggestions on what I should investigate or explore, please comment them down below, even if it pertains to real life. Not everything has to be based on or around Garry's Mod. So, without further delay, let's start the video. When typing Beta 13 into YouTube's search bar, a multitude of videos will pop up showing players exploring and seeing strange things on the map, such as magically appearing shadow figures, NPCs that jump off buildings, footsteps, Mingebags, and other strange anomalies will occur when spending a little bit too much time in here. The beginning of this video will be me lightly exploring and getting a feel for the map, and gathering whatever knowledge I can from other videos to help me on my journey. I'm going to read some entry logs left by a player of the map, and then hopefully we'll be able to come to a satisfying conclusion about what's going on in this map. I spawn into the map, and I select No Hands and begin to walk around. For the first 3 minutes of this clip, I patrol the ground level. I walk around getting a feel for the place, but end up seeing nothing on the surface, so my next decision is to go into the tunnels underground. These hallways tripped me out for the first few seconds of being in there, but I got used to it rather quick. I go down the left hallway and end up seeing my first shadow figure. I walked around a little bit more, hoping that I would set off another event, but nothing happened. I make my way back to the tunnels to make sure I explore every inch of this place. At this point, I've explored every bit I can. I make my way up some stairs that lead out to the bottom floor of the tower. A last second thought came into my mind, and it was that I could walk through where I just saw the ghost, get to the mirror room, and then the dark room. So I turned around and ran back. The first room I took a look in was the mirror room. Nothing happened in the mirror, except I think I found a stud.
Nice.
I've seen this chair while researching, so it wasn't that much of a surprise, but the way it presented itself to me spooked me just a little bit. Nothing really major has happened so far, the chair just sits there idly. Based on my found research so far, the chair is supposed to move or has been seen moving, but I'm not sure what causes it. Maybe it's a bug? I walked through the tunnel and made my way back to the surface level. I made my way back to the lake because I knew something had to be there. Just a decent sized room. Nothing out of the ordinary. From previous research videos, I know that somewhere in one of these towers is a secret wall that can be broken. When breaking it, a vent is to be revealed, so let's go find that. What even was that? More importantly is, why? It didn't seem like it was there to scare us. I feel like maybe this was a flashback. Maybe someone lived in here for a bit. The other side of the vent had a small surprise. Why are there so many secrets around this map? It's one thing to do Easter eggs and have them hidden. An example is the Nigel Thornberry Easter egg from my previous Garry's Mod video. But Easter eggs like that are reasonable when it comes to the Garry's Mod community. And I say reasonable on a certain level. But this just feels different. It feels like this map is like this for a certain reason. Like there's a bigger picture behind all of this. I drop down and make my way to the dark room for a second time. Seems like most events happen there. Doesn't seem like I was lucky enough to see anything. That is until I ran out the back side of the room and experienced a little lag. I have a decent computer, so when I got that lag spike, I knew something had just happened. I turn around to see a barnacle on the ceiling. I check it out and make sure to avoid it, but when I turned my head, my eyes fell on a Grigori NPC standing in the corner of the room with a light shining above his head. Then, he was suddenly gone. Oh, this NPC scared me. Even though I was hesitant, I decided to follow her. On the way to her destination, I looked up and I could see a shadow man standing on the tower. We get to the top after a little bit of running, and she ends up just jumping off. I, for some reason, was killed as well, presumably by the same spirit. A man saying, "You need me," can be heard, which makes me think that she was actually pushed off. I have no clue as to why I was killed as well. I ran to the dark room to check if the chair was still there. If it was, I was going to grab the doll that's hidden in every construct map, and I was going to place it on the chair. Now, with the doll in hand, I climbed up the ladder and started to walk back to the room. Jeez, these NPCs keep scaring me. I felt like I already knew what was going to happen, so I set the doll down and we both watch as she runs off and makes her way to the top of the building, where she will just jump to her demise. Why are they climbing all the way to the top, even if it results in death? Is it some sort of possession or a strange sacrifice? And at this exact point, I was feeling a sense of eyes on me, so I look around. That's creepy. Let's head back and bring the doll to the dark room. Wow, that was easier than I thought, but also unsettling. There goes Grigori. Wait, what? The chair seems to follow the doll. It's almost as if the chair wants me to place the doll on it. Like they're two separate beings, but they're made for each other. Let's just do this already. While I was shooting, I was worried that I was going to destroy the chair and break the map or something. I even tried spawning in some important people from the ARG story, but nothing happened. But after a few minutes, I discovered that I was in a giant empty room, and every minute this chair with a flying doll around it would teleport to me, and I couldn't figure out what it wanted from me. So I shot that thing.
We thought you were here to help. It's not supposed to end like this.
That probably means I did something wrong. Well then, what's the right choice to make? I'm not sure what all the teleporting and low poly models were all about, but I was kind of happy to finally see them. I run back to the room to do a checkup, but I see another NPC run out of the doorway again and make her way back up to the tower. I thought about the dark figure that was watching me and my doll last time, so I look over, and look who it is. So many unanswered questions. What's the deeper meaning behind this story? What was the meaning of the weird vision that I saw in the vent? Why does this shadow figure come off as an evil entity? And why are there people jumping off of a tower in a ritual-like fashion? As I said, so many unanswered questions. I was hoping to have my own theory by now, but so far from what I've seen, I'm not even sure if that's possible. Maybe researching and looking up other videos on the map might help. The first video I'll be covering was made by a famous YouTuber by the name of The Librarian. At the beginning of this video, he claims that he knows nothing about this map and he's only playing on it since his subscribers recommended it to him. He loads into the map and begins to walk around while he commentates. At the timestamp 150, he looks to the left and sees a strange NPC model. This low poly figure is actually your player model from the game Half-Life. He actually pops back up at 6:05, and weirdly enough, he actually moves places and even moves when the Librarian flies up to him. About 9 minutes in, the Librarian ended up running into the dark room, and not even 2 steps in, he sees something that spooks him. 15 seconds later, he's outside and sees an NPC run towards one of the big towers. He looks away, and a minute later, he gets an NPC death notification on the top right of his screen. He thinks that it's just a random NPC death that doesn't matter, but his eyes didn't see the NPC jumping off the tower. He also talks about how the map feels malicious and gives an example by talking about the garage door that isn't there in the vanilla version.
But as I was saying, there are elements to this map that are familiar but almost feel kind of malicious. Like on the base map, there's no door here, it's just open. The idea of this room is that you can color it any color, usually for the purposes of making like a green screen room or something. But when you walk in, it does this. There's no reason why you'd ever want that, it's just malicious. And it kind of adds to this feeling that this map doesn't want you here.
He already felt like this map doesn't want visitors, especially with all the encounters, but the garage door only doubled down on his theory. The next example he gives is the hidden vent located in one of the towers.
And I don't know what it is, it just makes it feel like this map is inhabited somehow. Like I just missed whoever was here watching everything that I was doing.
After he did his outro, he would end up walking around a little bit more and he'd make his way back to the dark room. He walks in and sees a light beaming down to a chair in the middle of a room. He questioned its reasoning for being there, and it just ends up disappearing. He does his outro once more, and right before the end, we see the Gord model again. Then his video ends. A couple of things we can take note on this video were the low poly Half-Life player model, the garage door to the white room, the hidden vent in a building, the NPC that spawns in and walks to the building just to jump off of it, the light to the dark room that flickers, the chair that appears in a dark room with the light above it. Without proper context, this map is set up to completely freak you out and make you question what's to come next. It confused me as well, but also intrigued me enough to want to go research it just a little bit more. The main issue that put my investigation on hold a year ago was the lack of video evidence to go off of. I did try to load up the map and learn the behaviors of the anomalies myself, but I had no luck in doing so. I only got to experience the basics of it, which is the majority of what the Librarian saw in his video, actually just minus a few things. I can admit that I did kind of push this video idea to the side to work on easier projects, but I feel like I oversaturated the channel with the exploration videos, so this is another reason why I'm here right now. So as I said, The main issue back then was the lack of videos to go off of, but if we look now, we can see that there are tons of videos of people investigating the map. Some of these videos are almost 2 hours long, with the video creator just attempting to try anything he can to get different reactions out of the map. Some of them are super long, so I'll just make this section as short as I possibly can. The second video we will be watching today is by cacohat, and in this video he shows us the new Easter eggs he's found within the map, along with some Mingebag facts. He also gives us his personal take on the whole ARG.
So there are a few console commands, right? You search, you do find GM13. There are a couple console commands. This is GM13 reset. There is a progression system. This actually saves data. GM13 reset. It will prompt you to type in yes, and the map will reset.
One of the first important things cacohat said was how the map has a progression system. If I'm not mistaken, this map has a tier system, and it will switch to a higher tier when you've done the correct task. It will go up to tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4, so on and so forth. What these tiers actually mean and their true effect on the map remains unknown. After typing a reset command into the console, cacohat restarted the map, which resetted the tier system. An NPC spawns near the dark room and runs to the tower where she is supposed to jump off. Instead of watching her jump, cacohat states that we must block her pathway with an object and tells us the best way to do it is to drop a wall of some sort in front of this doorway. The NPC will try her best to get around the object, and if unsuccessful, she will say,
"Thank God someone had the courage to do that."
She will then turn into a traffic cone with a light source attached to the top, which is strange, but this tool is labeled as a curse detector in the map's files. I wish I could dive into the files myself, but I'm unsure on how to do that. This curse detector can detect when a Mingebag is nearby and points it out with a red light, but the only way to see those guys is if you download the Mingebag add-on, which was made by one of the creators of Beta 13. cacohat talks about decompiling the map, as he shows us a hidden vent in the wall of a building. He approaches the vent room and had a slightly similar experience like I did, except I had no drawing on the wall of the vent. He shows us another drawing in the files and appears to be a room filled with people. There's people with weapons and a drone-looking piece of machinery. In the background, it shows the dark room with the doorway being barricaded with wooden boards. The picture doesn't tell us anything and remains cryptic with only a few hints. The next drawing he shows is a doll sitting on a chair in the dark room. He places the doll on the chair and then experiences the same thing as we did earlier, except I shot it, and when I did, a voice was heard saying this.
We thought you were here to help. It's not supposed to end like this.
So, I think attempting to destroy the chair isn't a viable option. The chair will chase you around and will even follow you above on the surface level if you get your no-clip working. The dark room at the top and the room at the bottom will not allow any light source to properly work unless it's the player's flashlight, almost like it's a black hole. At this point in the video, he states that the whole Beta 13 is a possible ARG, which, yes, I do fully agree with him. There's just too many secrets within the map, and even the logs that we'll get to eventually tell us so much information that it's almost just too stupid to believe that this isn't some sort of ARG, or just an extremely elaborate puzzle. I attempted to figure out how to extract the map with Gmod so I could personally delve into the folder myself, but I couldn't locate the map in the files, so I rather overlooked an important item, or I just have no idea what I'm doing. As we know by now, crazy stuff goes on throughout the map, and to be able to witness every single event and to know everything that's going on might be a little difficult, especially to people like me who are diving headfirst into this dark rabbit hole. So I was thankful when I managed to find the Construct Beta 13 wiki. This wiki page was made by the community and is here to document any new or previous findings from the players. The first section of the wiki we will be reviewing is the Events tab. The Oracle event can be identified easily and will only appear in one place, this vent. This confined space will give us more information than we expected. It might come off as random if we have zero context. Before we go on, let's set the mood by showing you the music you'll hear when approaching this section of the vent. Well then, you gonna play it? No. What? Just play the music already. Thank you. As I was saying, in order to witness this event, you must find this tower here and go to the bottom floor. In this area, there's a false wall you can break that leads to the dark vent. You just gotta make sure to look at this graffiti piece and break right next to it. Keep walking down it until you get to a small room just big enough to stand up in. This room is where the Oracle event takes place. The Oracle event will show you paintings that we can utilize to figure out more information, such as steps for rituals and other telling pictures. If we take a look at the first picture, which is labeled 01 doll in the files, we can see that it's a drawing of a doll sitting on a chair with blood under it. The doll has this creepy face which gives it an evil look. This doll might play a bigger role than we think. And how can a doll be evil? Looks fine to me. The second picture is named Big Dark Room, and it has a very far away view of Beta 13 with a darkened chute leading under the map into the giant dark room with the words "I need it" written on the right hand side. The third picture is named Danger, and shows a room filled with different people or entities. The dark room can be seen boarded off in the background. The fourth is labeled Dark Room 1 and shows 2 people. One person is sitting outside the doorway of the dark room while a menacing figure is seen standing in the dark. The words "What" are written at the top left. Is this someone mocking our reactions when first seeing this figure? I can't help but think that this is the same reaction that I had, as well as many other people. The fifth picture shows a fight between what I presume is a player and a Mingebag. We know it's a Mingebag by the clothes it's wearing and its stance. The sixth and last picture we can see is a file named Transmissions, and it shows a dark figure with red glowing eyes. I'm not sure if he's dancing to the music or if it's hurting his ears. We don't know. The Darkroom chair event will sometimes start when walking into the dark room. A chair will appear in the center of the room, and it will have a light hanging above the chair. Once we bring the doll in here, we'll see that the chair will start to follow wherever we bring the doll. The idea most people get is to place the doll on the chair as if it was sitting on it. Doing this action will start some sort of confusing event. The floor will break from under us and will fall a great distance. When finishing our descent and breaking our ankles, we'll notice that we're in some dark room with this chaotic music playing somewhere around us. The music sounds like it's getting louder and closer. We run around the room attempting to figure out where we are. That is until you run into whatever this is. Our ears would probably be bleeding if it wasn't for the editing, because it is loud. Kinda like this loud. At this point, we ran for a few minutes and have realized that the room is empty and the chair won't stop following us. Getting sick of the music and the non-stop being chased by the chair, I decided to pull out the Glock and end this nonsense. When destroying the chair, a voice is heard saying,
We thought you were here to help. It's not supposed to end like this.
possibly indicating that the action we just did was probably the wrong one. The player will then be teleported to the surface level, and when doing so, an entity called Semper will appear around you in your vicinity, staring at you. This character Semper will also be explained. But for now, let's move on to the next event. Yes, the title of this event has quite the file humor behind it, but it also causes quite the chaos when first discovering it. This event can be found on the same building that the NPC jumps off when first starting the map. If we no-clip or run to the top of the building, we can see a board that shows the creators of the map, and if we look closely on the back of it, there will be a red button. Curiosity will always get the better of us, so let's check out what happens when we click it. See what I mean? When pressing the button, a mixture of different NPCs will spawn. The exact numbers of the entities and the entities that spawn are listed right here. This is probably just a joke, but if this is an ARG, then it would be hard to connect how exactly this would fit into the timeline, but nonetheless, it's fun to see the energy change so fast. Awaken is the name of the next event. This event occurs when a player attempts to block the doorway of the dark room, and some sort of paranormal force will throw and disintegrate any object. A howl can be heard in hopes of scaring the player and discouraging them from trying again. As the title says, if you bring any vehicle close to the entrance of the dark room, or the garage itself, some force will destroy your car and might even cause it to blow up if not moved in time. Attempting to put or spawn a vehicle in the dark room itself will cause it to automatically blow up. The cursed event is the most common occurrence that any player could come across, and you can probably find it just after a few minutes of exploring. This event takes place at the entrance of the dark room. The light above the doorway will flicker, and sometimes smoke can be seen along with it, but not all the time. Now that we know about the events that take place on this map, what are some of the characters mentioned like Semper, the Shadow Figure, or Curse Detector? They must play an important role, and information on them is crucial. The next segment of this timeline is dedicated to all the entities that roam Beta 13. The Curse Detector is an anomaly that can be found after only following these correct steps. When spawning, the first event we might see is the lady running out of the dark room to jump off the building. We can either watch as she repeats this non-stop, or we can intervene and block her pathway with a wall of some sort. Doing this will cause the NPC to get confused and she will attempt to find a way in. If we block them off good enough, the NPC will say this.
Thank God someone had the courage to do that.
And then she will turn into a strange item. This item is called the Curse Detector, and it can detect when an anomaly or an event is somewhere nearby. The bulb on top will start to emit a light when something is close. It's also said that the cone can point out Mingebags when they're in our game. This entity is a radio that is able to play a selection of different music. The real definition says how it's used for transmissions and gives the player a little bit more to do when exploring. The radio will have a few music tracks or transmissions. The number of tracks is 4, and here's a little taste of each song. Now, how exactly do we get the radio? When you see the darkroom chair, you must blow it up or shoot it. This will spawn stalkers, and you just want to watch them for only a minute. A minute will go by and all the stalkers will light on fire. All of them will die and vanish except for one. Follow that one stalker and he will lead you to the submarine room. His furniture will appear shortly after, and the radio will be seen on the table. Now, the most important song that we need is the portal music, which is transmission number 1. This is going to be the most common music you'll hear for anything, and it's the music track we need to complete almost any radio event. If we take a look on the wiki, we can see that there's several different markers that we can place the radio on. You must place the radio on one of these spots with the portal music playing, or else nothing will happen. Here's an entity that everybody who's played Garry's mod should know of. This entity is called Shadow Kleiner, or the Shadow Figure. This entity takes form of the Kleiner model, but is painted pure black. Shadow Kleiner can also be seen watching you from afar, and he pops up at random. If approached, he will more than likely flee from you and simply vanish without a trace. This entity is called Semper, and he won't harm or kill the player. He's here to simply scare the newcomers. He's not a threat or even really a problem. He will disappear when approached, and can be seen on other maps just like our friend Shadow Kleiner. Fun fact, this entity is your player model from the Half-Life series. Sad Grigori is a cursed NPC that can be freed from the map's grip. Sad Grigori can spawn in a dark room and is always standing in the corner with a light above him. He keeps his back towards us even if we shoot him. When shooting him, we'll quickly find out that he reflects all damage back to the player. If we get close to him, it will play an odd sound and he will vanish, and so will his light. So, if we can free him, then let's do it. But how exactly do we accomplish this task? Well, good thing the wiki is here for us again, because it has all the correct steps, and as long as we follow them, we should be able to set him free. Here are the steps we must follow in order to free this poor soul. We must get the radio, and if you haven't done that yet, you must explode the darkroom chair and let Ratman walk home. Now, it doesn't matter how it's done. You can use a Glock, or you can just throw a landmine, or you can use an SC-500. All is the same. Bring the radio to the transmission spot in the Ratman submarine room, and play the portal track. It might take a minute, but listen to the whole track so you can hear the numbers. A series of numbers will be set on the radio, and it's our job to catch them and write them down. Put the radio code into the console and press enter. Doing this will teleport you to the dark room, where we will see 3 fast zombies attacking Grigori. Grigori will eliminate them all, and he will say, "Be aware." Shortly after, he will vanish, never to be seen again. You can only assume at this point that we've done the correct thing and freed this soul. The Ratman is an entity that takes form of a stalker from the Half-Life series, and he lives in the submarine room. The Ratman is spawned in by exploding the darkroom chair. After that, he should pop up every now and then in his little room. He remains non-hostile, that is until we wreck his room 3 times in a row. When throwing his furniture around, it will disintegrate and reappear, which basically means he's fixing it. After the 3rd time, he will start to attack the player, and he will start reflecting any damage that we give him. The Ratman will fade away once the player is dead or runs away. Ah yes, a Mingebag. A Mingebag is a T-pose incliner that can fly, shoot, draw, and randomly appear and disappear. When being close to a Mingebag, he'll hit you doing anywhere from 3 to 10 damage points randomly. Now, the thing about these Mingebags is they're real players. When you download the Mingebag add-on and play on a map, the map will somehow allow other players to soft connect with you, and the other opposing person will look like a Mingebag. Mingebags have been seen being able to communicate with other real players by shooting a fizz gun on the wall or the ground. The color of this material is the missing texture color, black and purple. Mingebags also have different colored beams on their fizz gun depending on their actions. Orange means they're attacking and blue means they're drawing. Before we continue on with the next section, let's take a few minutes to talk about a Mingebag. We're going to try to find a Mingebag and attempt to establish some sort of communication with them. Maybe we can attempt to prove that they are real players, or just really smart AI. But if things get a little crazy, we will try to perform the ritual and make them vanish. With the add-on installed, let's follow the next step and set up our game to multiplayer and load it up. I couldn't believe that they were actual players. At first they seemed like bots, but they drew words on the walls and responded to what I was saying, turned and moved like real players. I also did a little bit of shameful advertising, and I think they liked it. This zombie's nickname is called Meaty. When approaching the darkroom entrance, there is a 1 in 93 chance that we'll actually see Meaty sprint past the doorway going from left to right. It's possible to interrupt his running, but it'll be met with pain. He will start to attack us, but shortly after he will vanish like a ghost. Other than that, I'm not too sure of what Meaty's specialty is, or what he really does around the map. The barnacle is an alienoid creature from the Half-Life series. These guys will let their gross tongues dangle 7 feet to the ground while they stick on the ceiling and wait for their next victim. The barnacle will then wrap its tongue around its victim's neck and slowly pull them up, where they will be eaten in a horrible and gruesome way. It will only spawn above the doorways of the darkroom entrance and exit. This entity can and will attack if you get wrapped up in its tongue.